This week I had the opportunity to visit a plant that is in our district called Striker Sage. And what it does is develop products to prevent hospital-borne illnesses. And in particular, what we focused on was the issue of pneumonia in hospitals. Now, this is for people who have been in the hospital 2 days or more. So you can attribute what happens after that to what is happening in the hospital. And what they have discovered over the years is something that may surprise you. The real way to avoid hospital-developed pneumonia is by having good oral care. In other words, something as simple as brushing the teeth. But unfortunately, what we learned is this 58% of patients do not get oral care, do not have their teeth brushed. So 1 out of 100 people that's in a hospital, that amounts to about 32 million people, will have pneumonia acquired there in the hospital. So one of the things that they manufacture at this plant is the kind of toothbrush, a place to spit, the kind of equipment that is needed to do this. It's not super technical, but it's very, very necessary. And so that is a very important product they have. This company, Striker Sage, is an American company, but they're in 75 different countries around the world and have many, many employees. This plant that I was at in my district in Cary, Illinois, has 900 employees. So it's a bustling company and a very busy plant doing great work. I was really moved by that. You know, sometimes there are simpler solutions than you might imagine. And we certainly want to get more hospitals to make sure that they have this oral care. I would say one of the unfortunate disincentives is that hospitals actually make more money when patients that are there develop pneumonia. I'm not saying that they deliberately don't have these products to prevent it, but it would be useful, I think, to make that more of a requirement so that every hospital and that nurses are trained in that and that more emphasis is given to the idea of oral care. So I learned a lot from this visit and hope to follow up, maybe even have a hearing on the importance of oral care and the use of these toothbrushes to make sure that people are safer there. We can do better. I also had the pleasure of going to Island Lake. Beautiful. It's a small town with a beautiful lake, and I was able to meet with Richard McLaughlin, who is the mayor. He's been a mayor for the last 3 years. And the meeting was set up by Lake County Treasurer Holly Kim, who is a force of nature. She's absolutely fabulous. And I was so happy that she was able to bring me out there, introduce me to the mayor, and also Chris Carlson, who is the Public Works Director of Island Lake. And between the two of them, over the last 3 years, they have made enormous changes in this little town. And it was really a joy to get a tour. They took me in their truck and drove me around so that I could see the lake. The lake needs some serious dredging, and they're working to find the funding to make that happen. But in the meantime, it is absolutely quite lovely. So, they told me about the various things that they are doing to increase not only home ownership there, they'd like to get more people so that they could be a home rule community, and also how they can develop businesses there. It was a very good trip, developing a relationship with mayors and leaders of the communities around the new part of the district. So this was a beginning, and it was a great visit to Island Lake. While home in the district for our district work period, I also went to Niles North High School. I go there every year. I'm invited by Mr. Sharma, who teaches AP Government, and these are fantastic students. These kids are really interested in what's going on in the world and in their communities, and I spent most of my time listening to their questions and answering them as clearly and as frankly as possible. The issues that they talked about was about migrants and immigration. It's a very diverse community of students. They talked about climate. They wanted to know what we're doing about climate change. I was happy to tell them about the huge amount of money, larger than any in the world really, through the Biden administration of $250 billion to address the climate crisis. They wanted to talk about reproductive freedom, and also they wanted to talk about guns and gun violence. This is a concern of students all across the country. And they also wanted to talk about the war in the Middle East. So it's always exciting to talk to young people, especially young people who really are engaged in what is happening and want to play a role and want to speak out on the issues that are important to them. So our time at Niles North was, as usual, interesting and exciting. I had the pleasure then of meeting with another group of high school students, most of whom went to Evanston Township High School, and they are affiliated with two Evanston synagogues, the Jewish Reconstructionist Congregation and also Beth Emet, which happens to be my synagogue. And they were meeting at JRC to discuss an incredible experience that they all had had. They had recently returned from a wonderful several days in Washington D.C. that was hosted by the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, a terrific organization that I've dealt with for a long time that does a good job training and answering questions and helping develop leadership among these students. There were about 300 of them that were there during several days. They went to the Holocaust Museum, which each of the students I met with said was an extraordinary experience. None of them had been there before. They also were encouraged to write statements and make presentations about issues that they were concerned about. And not surprisingly, it was not all that different from what we heard at Niles North High School. They were interested in immigration, in guns, in climate, and in addition, they were concerned about anti-Semitism. I came away feeling that these are incredible young people, that they're going to stay informed, they will stay active, they will be articulate in expressing themselves, and it was a wonderful evening that I spent with them. Most recently, the mayor of the city of Chicago, Brendan Johnson, invited us and hosted some of us at lunch, and that included myself and Delia Ramirez and Lauren Underwood and Danny Davis. So the purpose of the meeting was to talk about the issues that we could work together on. We talked about public health and safety. We talked about housing, and we talked about the new migrants. I raised the issue of the Broadway Armory, and I know that they're working as hard as they can to make sure that we'll be able to resume the programs that are held there, not just for migrants, but for the seniors, for teens, and bring it back to the community more. I know he's doing absolutely the best he can, and they're moving as quickly as possible in that direction. We always want to be a welcoming city, but the members of Congress actually raised the issue that Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, over the years has sent about 35,000 migrants to the city of Chicago. Now understand, he uses federal dollars to put them on a bus or even on a plane to come to our city. He is not thinking kindly about the city of Chicago. Make no mistake. This is a deliberate, I think, attack in many ways on the city of Chicago. And this is not a good thing. And we were telling the mayor that I know a lot of people are upset with him and they're putting pressure on the governor as well. I understand that. But the fact that Governor Abbott is making a point of sending people to us is really shameful, I believe. We're doing our best, and all of our elected officials are doing their best to be a welcoming city. We are a city of immigrants. As I've told you before, I'm a first-generation American myself. We welcome diversity, but this has been a really hard time. One of the things that we really want to do, and we talked about, is to increase the availability of work permits. The migrants that I've talked to, and I've asked them, what is it that you want most from the United States of America? And to a person, the answer has been a job. But it's been very hard for them to get any kind of work permit. Speeding up that process would make a very big difference. So the meeting that we had was very collaborative. It's difficult times right now, there's no question about it, and it's hard to manage a city as big as the city of Chicago, and we want to work with the mayor, we want to work with the governor, we want to work with the communities to make it as welcoming, as safe, and as effective as possible. I'll be going back to Washington soon, and this is a time we're going to be able to get a budget. We going to be able to fund things, including helping Ukraine and humanitarian assistance and addressing issues in Israel. Not clear. The Republicans are saying that they're reluctant to do any of those things, and we'll see. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to move forward. I want to make clear that we, the Democrats in the House of Representatives, and we are in the minority, want to work with the Republicans to solve these issues and move our country forward. So that is certainly going to be on our agenda, and watch the news and see if we make any progress. And regardless, I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where my handle is @Jan Schakowsky.